Good morning, folks. This week will be another quick episode. It's been a very busy past few days with more than just campaigning as part of the schedule. This will be the last episode released before Election Day, and a few events this week have been added to the schedule. First, though, a brief recap of the past week. Of course, there was more door-to-door knocking. I met more wonderful people here in the district that they've recognized that there is a need for a change from what is currently in place here in the county. Not just at the state level, but even in the county commissioner's office. Who would have thunk that, right? This past Saturday, Denise and I got to celebrate our only child's birthday with her. What a blessing it is to have your adult child live close to you. I also wrapped up my final session of physical therapy for my left hand. I should be back to 100% with both hands here in a few weeks. After years of tingling and numbness in both hands, I must tell you that having complete feeling back in both of them, it's wonderful. Now, I have to keep up with the home exercises so I can regain all the strength that I lost in both of those hands. Now, the family, we did encounter a slight hiccup with our birthday celebration plans this past Saturday, though. Kaylee's youngest puppy, he's actually a few years old, but they're always puppies, right? Anyway, Finn is his name, and we had to take him to the vet on Saturday because he has been having some digestive issues for the past week. It turns out he got into something he wasn't supposed to eat, which was only revealed by x-rays. So after a full day at the clinic, we finally got him home around 6 p.m. Saturday evening with some special food for him to eat that should help him pass the irritating object completely through. Now, the doctors over at Tri-County Veterinary Clinic are the bomb, especially Dr. Biggs. They love your fur babies just as much as you, and that is quite evident in the care they provide. They have been our pet doctor since we moved here in 2017, and I could not recommend them any more highly than I already do. And no, they're not paying for any advertising on this program. You have to recognize excellence no matter what. Sadly, I must report that more of my signs have been stolen, especially some ones in the Seymour area. Petty larceny by petty people. Speaking of the campaign, I have to let you know that it's still somewhat disappointing to me that the people who have firsthand knowledge about my main opponent's real character and his history, it's disappointing that they will not come forward publicly to share what they know. And what they know and what they've been conveying to me is the complete opposite of the picture that he and his pals have been painting for the public to see. I have spoken now with 3 different people, all of who don't know each other personally, and they have corroborated each other's stories, which they shared in confidence with me. And since they did this in confidence with very little details, I'm stuck because I cannot share the information publicly. All that I can say is that if one of you are listening to this program, you still have time before Election Day to let the public know about the man's true character and how it contradicts the public persona that is being sold to the residents of Sevier County. Enough about the recap, though. Let's get on with this week's episode of the Liberty Leadership and Lies podcast, where I will discuss why it is imperative that each of you vote for constitutional principles. Do not cast a vote for someone because that candidate is your friend. Friendship won't secure your liberty. Constitutional principles, they will. So let's take a stand in the arena together again this week, folks, and get on with the show. Oh, almost forgot. We got to include the disclaimer. Let's get that done before we move on. The following content is approved by the Larry Linton for TN12 campaign, Larry Linton, Treasurer. Welcome to the Liberty Leadership and Lies podcast. On this show, we will discuss the assaults on our liberty by the very institution we the people created to secure our liberty. We will also compare and contrast the actions of people in leadership positions to the servant leadership that is needed to protect our God-given, constitutionally protected rights. Additionally, we will break down the many lies that elected and unelected officials in government and media spin every day in order to secure for themselves positions of power and influence that are antithetical to the system of government our founding fathers created and passed down to us. Your host on this program is Larry Linton, a 30-year veteran of the United States Navy who also runs his own leadership consulting company. He is also a candidate for the Republican Party's nomination to represent Tennessee's House District 12, which includes Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Pittman Center, Weirs Valley, Seymour, and parts of Sevierville, and most of Sevier County. So here is your host, Larry Linton. Okay, we're back. Just another reminder, folks, this will not be a full 30-minute show. There's still a lot to do and so little time to do it, as I will talk about here in a bit. Let me start off with a couple of questions first. Can you feel it? Especially for you folks here in Sevier County. Can you feel the change in the air? I can feel it, and so can many of the others that I have talked to over the past couple of months. The other question is, will it be enough though? Have enough of the residents here in Sevier County recognize the need for a change from the good old boy network controlling things here? Have enough of them recognize that we need to return to governance with constitutional principles as a foundation? Time will tell, and there is very little time left. Election day is this coming Thursday, and so far, a bit over 3,400 people have cast an early vote in this election. Now, based upon historical data of the last truly contested primary election for this seat back in 2012, the number of early votes represents about 49% of the total votes cast in that primary. That, to me, looks like there's going to be more participation in this primary, more than has happened in a long time. As I said, only time will tell, though. As I mentioned in the introduction, a couple of events have been added to my schedule during the final few days of this primary election cycle, both of which I'm really looking forward to. One is an event being hosted by State Senator Frank Niceley, and it's going to happen at the Island in Pigeon Forge later on today. Not only am I a big supporter of Frank, but I believe this event will draw out members of the Sevier County Republican Party Executive Committee. It will provide me the opportunity to ask them, in a very public manner, why they violated the Tennessee State GOP bylaws during this primary election. They've been ducking my request to meet with them privately, and all I have to say is this: you reap what you sow. Speaking of which, I've continued to try and make contact with the chairman of the state Republican Party, Mr. Scott Golden. I left several voicemails as well as messages when the phone is answered by the person taking the message. That person continues to dodge me as well, acting like cowards or little children. It's the whole bunch of them, as if the problem will go away or it doesn't exist altogether if they don't acknowledge it. Well, they have never met somebody like me. They have never met somebody secure or convicted in their principles. They are quite comfortable dealing with people that have weak moral principles or will just go along to get along. And as most of you know, that really ain't me. Of course, that event will take place after a personal doctor's appointment. It seems that a new prescription for eyeglasses is warranted, and I have to take care of it before I depart the area for my next coaching engagements coming up that are in Mississippi and Wyoming. May even hit Montana and North Dakota on the way too. The second event that popped up was quite unexpected. This past Friday, I received a call from the president of the Great Smoky Mountain Area Realtors Association, and they provided me an invitation to speak at an upcoming breakfast for the group. Here's the interesting twist behind that, folks. Originally, the upcoming meeting was set up to honor the retiring incumbent for House District 12, Mr. Dale Carr. Dale had accepted the invitation and informed the group he was going to be bringing the candidate he endorsed along with him to that breakfast. Then later, Dale had to bow out because he has a meeting somewhere out of the district that he has to attend. It was then suggested to the president of the Smoky Mountain Realtors Association that she invite all four candidates to come to the breakfast meeting that day, and they, meaning I and the three others, will be provided an opportunity to speak. Again, I graciously accepted the invitation to come to the meeting. It takes place in the early morning of Election Day this Thursday. Besides providing an opportunity to meet with more voters, it will be an opportunity to appear in public alongside the candidate who has campaigned from his basement or behind the skirts of the good old boy network here in Sevier County. has been going on since the outset of his campaign. Now, unless, of course, old Fred gets wind that all candidates were invited as well and pulls a Houdini, if you know what I mean, which is what I fully expect to happen once he does find out that at least I will be there. So these two new events added to the schedule in this closing week may provide me with the opportunity to appear alongside my opponent in full view of the voters and let those same voters ask us both some questions in public. Maybe the people at these events will ask the other so-called Republican candidate why he has accepted donations from a Democrat union. It seems this same union only provides financial support to Republican establishment candidates in contested primary elections, especially if that contested primary has an actual conservative on the ticket. Oh, my co-host just walked in the door. This Democrat union opposes conservative Republicans that will govern based upon constitutional principles. It is the same union that has sued the state of Tennessee so that they can continue to promote and teach critical race theory topics and concepts in Tennessee public schools. That's not a very Republican position, wouldn't you agree? Or maybe the voters could ask him why he has accepted campaign donations from a group that also backs Democrat candidates. A true conservative Republican would not be accepting support, financial or otherwise, from a group that is also working to get a Democrat into elected office. Now, would they? All that I can continue to ask of the public in the next few days is that the voters really look into the candidates. I mean, really look into them. Look at the financials, look at who supports them, both financially and otherwise. And you will find out what you really need to know about those candidates. By continuing to support weak establishment candidates, you will see liberty being eroded at every turn. By continuing to support weak establishment candidates, you will continue to see the debasing of our culture and our faith, not only here locally, but on the national and global level as well. The greatest example I can provide is given just what happened on the world stage at the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. The mocking of the Christian faith was monumental, and it is supported by the weak establishment candidates like Mr. Mitt Romney. I mean, with Republicans like him, you don't even need a Democrat party, if you know what I mean. That all comes down to right here at the local level too, folks. Our faith, our values, traditional family values, keep that in mind. Our constitutional principles are completely ignored by the weak establishment candidates. They have lost the culture war for us. Candidates that attempt to claim the mantle of being conservative, yet have served on a government body for decades. Yes, I'm speaking about the Sevier County Commission here. They have served on the county commission for decades and have not only grown the size and scope of government involvement, but have also raised our taxes, charged new fees on small business owners. They put into place restrictions and burdens on the residents here in Sevier County, only to enrich themselves and their buddies in the business sector. It is corporate and establishment principles they operate by or govern by, not constitutional principles that seek to limit government and promote the liberty of the people, to secure the liberty of the people. The choice in this upcoming primary could not be or should not be more clear. More of the same or a return to governance guided by our constitutions. As I stated in the introduction, folks, this week it's another quick show. I'll be out and about in the community right up through Election Day. If you see me out, be sure to stop me and ask me the questions that I will gladly answer. Unlike the other candidate, I'm always willing to take a very public stand with specifics, not the usual platitudes and generalities, a public stand on the issues confronting the residents of House District 12. With that, I'm going to break here and come back with my closing thoughts heading into Election Day on Thursday, as well as God's Word. Stick with me. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, we're back with my final thoughts. Here is something else for the voters to think about. I kind of alluded to it as I closed out the last segment. My willingness to take a public stand on the issues. I've always said that you will hear the truth, and it will not always be something you agree with. But, and this is one of the starkest contrasts between me and my main opponent, you will get to hear it. I will answer questions and not hide under the skirts of the establishment. I will be open and honest about everything. The second challenge I publicly issued for an opportunity to debate, it went unanswered, much as I knew it would. One would think that the Sevier County Republican Party would have set something up much like the National Party sets up for debates for the candidates vying for national office. You won't get that here because they have a preferred candidate. They will hide him. They will not allow him to speak publicly because it could damage the public image of their candidate. They will violate the state Republican Party's bylaws in their efforts to get him across the finish line. If nothing else does, that should give the residents here in the county reason to question their constitutional principles. I surely do wish that these good old boys do show up to at least one of these public events and be forced to answer those hard questions. I also hope that many of you show up to the event for State Senator Frank Niceley later today at the island. The establishment, they are also going hard after Frank because of his strong, conservative, and constitutional principles. We all need to take a stand in the arena for those same principles before our state and our republic is lost. And now for some wisdom from God's word. This week, it comes to us from the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8, in which Paul writes, "Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good of good repute, if there is any excellence and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things." Our county and our state Republican Party has not dwelled on things that are honorable and true. In fact, quite the opposite. My main opponent in this primary election has been lying to the people of this district and apparently has been doing so for many years. What is excellent? What is honorable? What is right? That's our Constitution. It seeks to limit the power of government in the everyday lives of Tennesseans. We need a return to constitutional principles. We need the people to vote based upon those same constitutional principles. Once again, right now I am speaking directly to the people here in Tennessee's House District 12, which is most of Sevier County. I am humbly asking that you honor me with your vote so together we can take a stand in the arena for constitutional, conservative principles. Please do your due diligence and check out each of the three candidates in this Republican primary. I mean, really, check them out. Until next week, stand in the arena with me, Reveille. It's time to wake up.